But I forget what my point was.
Well, I can cheer you up.
What was my point? God. Ugh. Well. Howdy, y'all! We're back with Wonder Lady, talking Seneca. This is part 8 of Anger. Yeah! And did you want to announce or show your channel, Wonder Lady?
No, it's fine.
No, it's not. Show your channel.
Okay. Um, I'm Wonder Lady, and I ask a lot of questions on my channel, and I do some interviews and things. Working
Thing.
on it. Working on it.
And you have a Patreon, don't you?
I do. Pussycat people.
Ah, Pussycat people, that's cute.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, when I first went there, when I visited your Patreon, I was like, Pussycat people, did I click on the right thing? But no, sure enough, that was her Patreon. Speak, and I will be linking that in the description. So,
Oh, thank you.
also, I have an announcement of my own to make. I have a Patreon. Yeah,
Yay!
I'm officially a shill. But you know,
You need to. You need to.
I need to because I mean, I have wants, I have needs, I have bun desires.
You have boot desires.
Yes, I need boots. I can't I can't
I need boots too, and I've been wearing the same pair for 10 years, but they're almost dead.
Aww.
They're really good boots.
Well, you need boots, I need boots, so become our patrons. Yay!
Yay!
I don't have any boots at all. And when the snow gets like ankle deep, that's not fun. So, anyway, become our patrons, and we're gonna move on to Seneca. Yay!
Yay, Seneca. Seneca the Younger.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So,
Tutor of Nero.
tutor of Nero, yes. And a very, very, I would say for his time, insightful. Uh, his
Well,
stu-
I think anger might become his obsession when you think how Nero kicked his pregnant wife to death.
yeah, yeah, that would require a very strong individual, what a really good character to not mob justice that motherfucker.
Yeah. Well, I think when he killed his mother, that may have been something even more to control, considering they were kind of ruling the empire together in the
Well,
beginning. In the beginning.
with Seneca was banished not once but twice, so he'd been through some shit. I will say that Seneca's life, although it had its trials, I would say that Epictetus had a much worse life. He was actually a slave,
Mhm.
so he had quite the experience. He had quite the character. Um, each of the Stoics, in their own way, has had to have their character built in some form or another, and they failed miserably at being a Stoic on several occasions. But each of them has their own kind of way of finding this philosophy and connecting with it in a way that they go, yeah, these are my principles. This is the kind of reflections that I have of the world that help me cope with it.
Mhm.
So, and it's not like like the difference between this stoic kind of idea and religion is you don't necessarily have to follow a doctrine. There are principles, and they're not, of course, seen as, if you break them, you're not seen as a sinner and a horrible person. You're just seen as a human being that made a mistake and needs to make a correction and to
Hmm.
examine these things honestly. So you're not condemned for them, you know, and I think it's a good learning practice. So, onward with our on anger. We're now on section 14.
Hmm.
And let me Theophrastus. Theophrastus. Okay. It is impossible, says Theophrastus, for a good man not to be angry with bad men. By this reasoning, the better a man is, the more irascible he will be. Yet he is not rather to be more tranquil, more free from passions, and hating no one. Indeed, what reason has he for hating sinners, since it is error that leads them to such crimes? Now it is not become a sensible man to hate the erring, since if so, he will hate himself. Let him think of how many things he does contrary to good morals, how much what he has done stands in need of pardon, and he will soon become angry with himself also, for no righteous judge pronounces a different judgment in his own case and that of others. Now, this sounds very familiar, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
And what does this remind you of?
Advice we bandy about.
Do what?
Advice we bandy about.
Advice we bandy about? What do you mean?
Advice that we exchange with our friends and family and loved ones.
Oh, I see. And do we often take our own advice very well?
Not from ourselves, from others, maybe.
Maybe if we decide that if we decide we want to. So what person have you ever given advice that you found was advice that you needed to take yourself but you didn't?
Um, I think everyone has.
I do too. And that's more or less what this guy's saying. And Seneca's basically saying the same thing as said in the Bible. Like there's a passage, why worry about the thorn in your neighbor's eye when you have a trunk in your own, or something like that. Uh, Paraphrasing, of course. Are you there?
Yes, I had a cough. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. It went really, really quiet, so I thought, where'd she go? Oh no.
Sorry.
It's okay. I'm having a cough too. Oh, this weather.
Yeah, it's beating me up.
So yeah, let he who is without error cast the first stone, basically,
Hmm.
right? And no matter what the source is, like whenever you're evaluating situations and stuff, do you consider what you would have done if you were in similar situations and been like, oh yeah, I would have made the same mistake? You know what I mean?
Um, no, I don't. Like, what do you mean?
Like when you see people make mistakes, do you go, oh yeah, I've made mistakes like that before?
Um, I think everyone can do that, though. Honestly, um, there are certain paths I see friends or strangers go through, and I'm like, I'm glad I'm not them. I'm glad I didn't make that decision, but that's me being arrogant and awful.
Yeah, but like basically he's asking here, he's asking, have you ever made an error in judgment? Can you really be angry with people, reasonably angry with people who make mistakes?
Depends. If someone made a mistake and it killed someone I love, I'm gonna be angry about it.
But are you angry at the death, the event itself, or are you angry with the person?
I would probably be angry at all of the above.
Yeah. And I think that's the case that Seneca is trying to make is why be angry at the person when you're angry at the circumstance? If the circumstance hadn't happened, you would not be angry at that person. And it's really whenever you take the this is
Hey,
whatever.
someone murdered my friend's niece and left her, well, not murdered, but she was going through a health event at their house or whatever, and they dumped her body in the middle of the street in Philadelphia and she died.
Yes.
So, I'm angry. Am
Right.
I angry at the circumstance? Yes. Am I angry at them for poor judgment and being a bad friend? Yes.
Yes. So
Am I going to do anything to those people? No.
exactly because what you're angry with is the error that they made, right? And that's the distinction that he's making here. So, no one, I affirm, will be found who can acquit himself. Everyone, when he calls himself innocent, looks rather to the external witnesses than to his own conscience. How much more philanthropic is it to deal with the erring in a gentle and fatherly spirit, and to call them into the right course instead of hunting them down? When a man is wandering out our fields because he has lost his way, it is better to place him on the right path than to drive him away. So I think that there are different levels to this. Like, if you had, like, what happened with the circumstance that you were describing, I mean, that's a very severe circumstance, right? Now, we
Right.
have tendencies in our everyday life to fly off the handle about things that happen, like, oh, the neighbor borrowed my shovel and then he broke it, or something like that. Now, things happen, things break sometimes, you know. There's no reason to be uh, completely angry with them because this is something that could happen to you as well. And I think that instead of looking at this with, oh, they broke my stuff, looking at it as, oh, well, I understand this kind of thing happens. And it's more or less indifferent to me. I mean, you broke my thing, I'll have to replace it, but is it really worth me flying off the handle about? I don't think so.
Maybe it fits the fifth brand new shovel that they broke. It might be
Right.
time to get angry at them being careless.
Well, by the fifth time, hopefully you're not lending to them anymore. So,
Uh, when the neighbor's kid wants to borrow your shovel, sometimes you go, okay, please
sometime
don't break it.
after the fifth time, you say no. Nope.
Actually, I keep doing it.
You say no. That's what you do. You
I
just say
know,
no.
but I have a habit of continuing and hoping that, yeah, they've learned. They're old enough now. They've got more responsibility. Oh,
Nope.
my shovels. Okay.
Nope. Nope.
They broke my ice pick too. That was awful.
Ugh.
How do
Freaking
you break an
kids.
ice pick?
I hate this. I hate this new generation. Damn
Oh,
freaking kids. Get out of my yard. Oh, anyway.
you want to
So,
join a legion? Anyway,
a, a legion.
yeah, a Roman legion.
Oh, goodness. So now we're on section 15. It's not too bad. Like I said, I don't really specifically like the language he tends to use, but, for his time, it was whatever, you know.
Right.
And I'm sure there's a lot that's lost in translation. But continuing on, section 15. The sinner ought, therefore, to be corrected both by warning and by force, both by gentle and harsh means. It may be made a better man toward himself and others by chastisement, but not by anger. For who is angry with the patient whose wounds he is tending? But they cannot be corrected, and there is nothing in them that is gentle, or that admits of good hope. Then let him be removed from mortal society, if they are likely to deprave every one from whom they come in contact, and let them cease to be bad men in the way that which they can. Yet let this be done without hatred. For what reason have I for hating men whom I am doing the greatest good, since I am rescuing him from himself? Does a man hate his own limbs when he cuts them off? The hell? Like, what? Cut his limbs off?
Yeah.
In what? Oh, it must have been difficult back then. Oh my god, does a man hate his own limbs when he cuts them off? I mean, what kind of conditions were they living in? Where they were just cutting their
Do you
limbs
really
off?
want to know?
No, forget
Okay.
it. Forget
Alright.
it. I'm done.
I raised my hand and everything.
Oh my god. Hmm.
I get the idea that a lot of this is directed right to Nero and the Senate.
I mean, it could be. I'm not sure exactly when this was written, at what time frame, but if you looked into it, you could probably figure it out. But
But
anyway,
he gave up on Nero, so
well,
anyway,
who wouldn't? Nero was insane.
he retired.
He retired.
Yeah,
Yeah, well.
that's the only way to get out with your
Oh,
life.
oh, what a philosopher retired with him.
No,
I
he was
doubt. Do you,
Nero's wisdom tutor.
do you think that people will get that reference?
Maybe, I don't know.
Mm, we'll see. Do you get that reference, y'all? Let me know down in the doohickey. Anyway, that is not an act of anger. Cutting your own limbs off isn't an act of anger, but a lamentable method of healing. Wowza. Okay. We knock mad dogs on the head. This is not getting any better. We knock mad dogs on the head. We slaughter fierce and savage bulls. We doom scabby sheep to the knife, lest they should infect our flocks. Well, I get that. We destroy monstrous births, and we also drown our children if they're born weakly or unnaturally formed.
You,
Oh,
yeah, that was a common practice back then.
this is not Sparta. Oh,
No, but it is an ancient people.
y'all were up back then, Seneca. Y'all were up.
I could tell you more stories about things like that.
Oh, maybe some other time.
Okay. I've got pictures too.
Oh, pictures.
Yeah,
Oh.
of the remains.
So, apparently, we drown our children if they're born weakly or unnaturally formed. To separate what is useless, oh, what is sound is an act, not of anger, but of reason. Oh, like I get it. But
This is what I meant last week, though. It's like this is a different time and mindset, and a modern person would not be executing their kids for being ill.
well, like too, like I get why it was that way. They didn't really have. They were cutting off their own limbs. I mean, this was a time when like they didn't have antibiotics, so they had to take the scabby sheep to the knife. They had to knock the dogs on the head. They didn't have any means to keep children who were malformed in ways that like they couldn't breathe or whatever.
And that
But
also includes that children are born during circumstances that's a bad omen, that they too would be subject to execution.
I don't know what this has to do with like last week, but
No,
uh
just, like it's a. I don't even know if that bit got in, but like it's a different zeitgeist. It's a different
yeah, it's a different
society.
time.
And
And
it
that's why whenever I read it, I want to make sure that I'm trying to keep away from what the zeitgeist was and just look at what the point is.
right,
Because when I'm reading a text like this, I'm not trying to fill in the gaps
right.
or anything. I just want to take it at face value.
I just wish he would
So
like stand up for the kids and going, "Of course we get rid of them." It's like, "Aw,
it's like, oh,
don't
not
don't
of
do that."
it's not of anger, but of reason. And like I get what he's saying. There's instances where like you have to pull the plug, I guess.
Yeah.
um Anyways, so nothing becomes one who inflicts punishment less than anger, because the punishment has all the more power to work reformation and the sentence be pronounced with deliberate judgment. This is why Socrates said to the slave, I will strike you were I not angry.
Okay.
He put off the correction of the slave to a calmer season. At the moment, he corrected himself. Who can boast that he has his passions under control when Socrates did not dare to trust himself to his anger? Well, I would strike you were I not angry. So that's a profound statement, really. He actually pauses and recognizes I'm angry, otherwise I would strike you.
I
But I know that I'm angry, and just like a drunkard, I'm not in my right mind.
I also get the idea of you deserve punishment, but I'm going to wait till I cool off so I don't murder you in your
Yeah,
private shoes.
exactly. Exactly. And that sums up the message, I think, of the last two sections, or three, really, because we talked about this in 13 as well.
Right, but
Um,
it's an individual to an individual, and better, it's an individual of lower status that is going to be punished. So it's even more of a big deal that Socrates, that Seneca claims that Socrates said that.
yeah. And I think I'm really glad that during this time they wrote this stuff down, though. Even though the perspective is wonky at best, it's
Right.
the practices we look back and we go, oh, how barbaric, which of course they were the old practices. But
There's plenty of what we do today that's barbaric, though.
exactly, exactly. And someday, further in the future, they will look back and go, you used to pull teeth? But, like they do in Star Trek, I'm a doctor, not a barbarian. Despite the time frame and all that, I'm glad that they wrote down all this stuff because we have a record of it, and we also have the ability to take this and utilize at least what wisdom comes through the text in our everyday lives. We can learn to not fly off the handle when we get stuck in traffic, or somebody breaks our shovel.
Right.
So I mean, even though people were cutting off their limbs and drowning their babies, that doesn't mean that we have to throw out the text completely.
Well,
I guess my point.
yeah, I don't think they would have cut off their own limbs. I'm not quite sure what he's talking about there.
I don't know if that's what it says. It could be translation, but it says, "Does a man hate his own limbs when he cuts them off?" That's what it be saying.
Okay.
Well, I guess that's a good place to end. Um,
Oh
did, did you have any questions for the audience, or for about the text or anything like that?
no. I would encourage them to look up Seneca the Elder and Seneca the Younger, and actually look at Roman society, or at least the rulers during Roman society at the time. Because if you've got one thing that does translate to modern day, back then you had the populace that was in control was armed, and daggers, that type of thing. You had their little senate dramas. You had murder, you had poisonings and intrigue. And if you've got someone out there who's calling for temperance, who's calling for, hey, mind your anger, hey, you might be in control here, but Socrates said, don't, you deserve to be struck, but not while I'm angry.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if
Yeah.
you look all that, you can see what gave birth to this. But when
Mm-hmm.
you think about it, we're walking around in a population that's armed.
Yes,
We're
exactly.
walking around in a population that's angry. We're walking around, but I don't hear any voices going, "Don't strike them when you're angry. Don't
Well, well,
don't
there's
hit them while you're angry."
you have Mrs. Snarky and
Yes,
Wonder Lady.
but I'm not that good at adulting. You're better at adulting than I am.
No.
Yeah.
I'm still stuck at the. Okay, so my question for the audience is: would you hate your own limb if you had to cut it off? Would you? Would you hate it?
If I
Would
hated my
you?
own limb, I might cut it off.
There's actually a thing like a phantom limb, or not phantom limb, but where your limb doesn't feel like your own. It's
Yeah, it's a
where
phantom limb. That's after someone um a fan well,
phantom limb is when you lose one and you still have the sensation.
exactly.
This
That's what I
is
was gonna
this
say.
is this is something else. This is where you feel like your foot is like someone else's. It's weird. But there is a condition. You seek professional help if your limb feels like it's not your own.
But but there is acrotomophilia.
What is that?
Um Strong sexual interest in amputees.
Oh yeah.
There are amputee fetishes, including people who want to remove their own limbs.
Oh my god. Wow. Yeah, that's a whole like we could take an hour talking about that. But anyway.
I actually want my right foot removed, so
uh,
I'm not kidding.
yeah, yeah. I've read about that somewhere. But in all seriousness, I guess my question would be: have there been times when you've flown off the handle at someone doing something that you've done before, like breaking a shovel or cutting someone off in traffic or something like that? And the next time somebody does something that you do often, like cut someone off in traffic, think to yourself before you get angry, if I've done this before. Have I ever been rude to people like they were rude to me? Should I be more understanding of their error? Is it really in my control if they make an error? Is there any way that I can make the situation better instead of allowing anger to escalate things? That's a lot of questions, but that's what I'd like to leave it on as far as a Jerry Springer final thought, I guess. I don't know.
Well,
But
I think it's important. There's nothing wrong with asking people to be imaginative about, someone who's cutting them off in traffic. Like, maybe they're like you that time you did it.
yeah,
Maybe they were really late, or maybe they had a bagel hanging out of their mouth, or you know
right.
maybe they just didn't see you.
whenever you think about these things in the moments like that, it really helps. It takes the pressure off. It's like as long as you survived the interaction, as long as you survive someone cutting you off, yeah, it sucks. It sucks to experience that, but does it suck enough for you to yell, get out of your car, tell them their mama's fat, you know, all the things that tend to happen when people get angry and get out of control.
Right.
Just something to think about. But thank you all for watching, and please make sure that you subscribe to Wonder Lady because she is awesome.
Yes.
She is.
Because I'm planning on being awesome one day, and you don't
You're,
want to miss it when I finally happen.
you're already awesome in my book, especially since like you hate philosophy, but you're willing to read it with me, and that is an awesome friend.
Thank you.
I love you.
I love you too.
So thank you all for watching, and have a good day. Bye.
Bye.